Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something that's changing like crazy, the world of work and HR. But we're not just going to toss around those same old future of work buzzwords you hear everywhere. We've got reports and articles right here from the past year, 2024 to 2025, and they're full of real research, expert opinions, and examples of what companies are actually doing right now. So think of this as like your cheat sheet to understanding what all this change actually means, not just for companies you know, but for your own career, too.
Yeah, you know what's really striking me is how much AI is at the center of all this change. It seems like everyone's talking about AI, but are we really getting it? Like how AI is changing jobs right now, not just in some far-off future.
Totally. It's like this AI is everywhere feeling, but it's hard to figure out what that really means. So, like, is it really going to take our jobs, or is that just hype?
Well, one of the things we've got here, an article from SAP in March 2024. Called HR Trends 2024, the Year of AI. It actually suggests that it's not really about mass unemployment.
Yeah.
What they predict is the people who really master AI, those are the ones who are going to have a big advantage.
So it's less that AI is going to, like, take jobs,
Yeah.
and more that it's going to change how we do our jobs. And those who can adapt, they'll be the ones who really thrive.
Exactly. And this idea of AI literacy, that's becoming absolutely crucial. It's not just a skill for tech people anymore. We all need to understand how we can use AI in our own work, no matter what we do.
And, you know, speaking of skills, that same SAP article, it talks about this huge shift toward skills-based hiring, which makes sense if you think about it, because specific tech skills, that's what's really setting people apart now. They even said organizations will be forced to consider what AI skills they need.
And what's interesting about that quote is that it's like we're moving away from those traditional resumes, you know, the ones that focus on just degrees and job titles. It's becoming more about what you can actually do. What are your skills, not just what you did in the past.
Okay, so that's a huge change for job seekers. But with all this change going on, what's happening to HR departments? Are they just like scrambling to keep up with everything?
Well, actually, HR is going through a pretty major transformation itself. We've got another SAP article here from December 2024. It's called Looking Back and Moving Forward. And it really highlights how HR is becoming way more strategic and data-driven than ever before.
That makes a lot of sense. If companies are using AI to analyze candidates or measure employee performance, HR needs to understand all that data.
Right. HR is right there on the front lines of all this AI adoption. They're figuring out how to measure the impact of AI and how to manage all the changes it brings. And this isn't just a big company problem either. It's changing how organizations of all sizes approach talent and hiring.
So we're seeing this double impact of AI. It's changing how people work, and it's changing how companies manage their workforce. But these sources, they cover even more than just AI, right?
Oh, absolutely. This is a time of such rapid change, and it's affecting every part of the working world. We're seeing shifts in where people want to work, what they expect from their employers, and even how they define success itself.
All right, so let's unpack some of that. Let's start with the whole debate around hybrid versus remote work, one of our sources. An SAP article from December 2024 called Organizations Draw the Line on Hybrid and Remote Work. It suggests that that whole debate is actually starting to settle down.
What we're seeing is that companies are finally picking a side, whether that's fully remote, hybrid, or mostly in person. And that leaves employees with a choice. Adapt to the company's model, or go somewhere else that's a better fit for them.
So it's not so much about employees trying to negotiate their ideal setup. It's more about finding a company whose approach already matches what they want.
That's a great way to put it. Companies are being more upfront about their work models, and it's up to individuals to decide if that works for them, for their own preferences and lifestyle.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk about something that's been a big topic for a while, DEI and B. We've got two SAP articles from 2024. One is Looking Back and Moving Forward, and the other is HR Trends 2024, the Year of AI. And they paint a really interesting picture with some developments that I wasn't really expecting.
Yeah, it's not a simple trend to track. Some companies are really doubling down on DEI and B efforts, but others are kind of putting those initiatives on hold, maybe because of economic pressures or changes in the political landscape. What's interesting is that HR Trends article, it mentions that some employees are actually unhappy with how DEI and B is being handled.
So there's this tension between companies trying to make progress and some employees feeling like those efforts aren't really working. So it's not just about having a policy. It's about how it's actually put into practice.
Exactly. And this makes it even more important for job seekers to really do their research on a company's culture and values. If DEI and B is important to you, you need to find an employer who's actually walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
So it's not just about finding a job anymore. It's about finding a company that really matches your values. And that brings us to another challenge that keeps coming up in these articles: trust in leadership. The March 2024 SAP article, HR Trends 2024, the Year of AI, they actually say trust in leadership plummets to new lows.
Yeah, that's definitely a worrying trend. All this constant change and uncertainty can really erode trust, and that can lead to people feeling disengaged, burned out, and even to higher turnover
This is
rates.
like a vicious cycle. Change leads to uncertainty, which leads
Yeah.
to mistrust, and that makes it even harder to deal with future changes.
Right. Leaders really need to do better here. Transparent communication is super important, but it can't just be about words. Leaders have to actually show that they care about their employees and be consistent in what they do.
So what does all this mean for someone listening to this deep dive? It sounds like finding a good company culture is more important than ever. But it's also about being informed about all these big trends that are shaping the workplace, right?
Absolutely. You can't just rely on a company's website or a job description anymore. You really need to do your research, understand their values, and see if they're actually doing what they say when it comes to AI, DEIMB, and leadership.
It's almost like you need to become your own future of work analyst just to find a job you'll actually like and be successful at. And speaking of analyzing the future of work, we've only scratched the surface of these articles. Let's move on to the next part of our deep dive and see what other insights we can find.